As a part of the selection process for certain job roles, candidates may be required to go through assessments or tests. Now, when it comes to assessments or tests as a part of the selection process, there are five popular types of these assessments and tests which candidates may have to go through. So, first is the aptitude test, which analyzes different elements pertaining to your attitude for a specific job or for a specific role. The second popular type of test is a personality test, which provides an understanding pertaining to the various facets of your personality. The third element could be a skills assessment, which people applying for a technical role, this could be in terms of an IT role, a digital marketing role, or anything pertaining to creativity, they may have to go through a skills assessment. The fourth type of a test could be a job simulation, where for certain job roles, the candidate would have to go through a job simulation for the employer to understand whether this candidate fits the bill for that particular job role and whether he or she is up to the mark pertaining to the requirement of that job. The final type of assessment or test is the assessment center. Of course, the assessment center is extremely complex in terms of what it encompasses. So some of us have this thought that an assessment center is all about psychometric tests. Psychometric tests could be a part or is one part of assessment centers. However, assessment centers are a much more broader concept. These can include various individual as well as group exercises or initiatives. It could include presentations, individual presentations, group interactions, group discussions, and of course, psychometric assessments as well. So these are the five popular types of assessments and tests which organizations utilize or have incorporated as a part of the job selection process. Now these tests, of course, there may be a single test or a couple of tests or so for certain job roles. However, these tests are important in addition to the knowledge, skills, and your performance in the interviews. How you perform in these assessments and tests are also extremely vital. So when it comes to these important tests and assessments, which can possibly act as a catalyst in you securing that job opportunity, or also be a showstopper for you in terms of not getting the job opportunity in case you have not performed well. What are the key actionables that you need to do? So sharing 5 key action points that you can implement to ensure that you address these tests and assessments in a positive and successful manner. The first point is preparation. So when it comes to any test or assessment, you will have to prepare yourself. Never be overconfident. At the same time, do not also be too stressed out. Your confidence will have to have the right balance. Don't take anything too lightly. Maybe you've been through a certain test or an assessment earlier. However, every day has its own set of challenges. You will need to take the day and give it your best shot as it comes, because at times we get overconfident and then it becomes an issue for us. So prepare yourself in terms of honing your skills and knowledge sets. In addition to that, ensure that you're confident and have the right approach and preparation to address the test or assessment. The second point, when it comes to tests or assessments, especially when you have not had the opportunity of going through a certain test or an assessment in the past, please clarify your doubts, understand as much as possible. In case you have any challenges or any clarifications that you need to have, reach out to your point of contact at the prospective employer's end, or possibly the HR point of contact or the recruiter, Try to get maximum clarification on what you need to understand so that you can address the test or the assessment positively. The third element is when it comes to tests and assessments, most of it are undertaken within a certain time period. So there's a time duration or there is a time limit for that test or assessment. So please ensure that you manage your time well pertaining to the test or assessment. So you may be undergoing the test or assessment at the prospective employer's office or site, or you may even be doing it remotely. So regardless from where you're addressing the test or assessment, stick to the timeline, ensure that you create maximum output or the best quality output within the stipulated time level or time stipulation. The next point that you need to have a very clear understanding and do is sincerity and honesty. So when it comes to tests and assessments, please be sincere, honest and authentic. So when it comes to certain tests, especially when it's done remotely, I have come across certain candidates who resort to malpractices or cheating. So they may actually take the help of someone else, another expert, to address a test. So that's not done. Because of which certain organizations have now started going for proctored tests, where someone is actually monitoring you, especially if you're doing a testing or a test through the virtual mode. So you may have a proctor at the other end who will be looking at you through a camera. The proctor will also require to be convinced that there is no one around you or you're not taking any specific help to undertake a certain test or assessment. However, there are many cases where virtually the liberty is given to the candidate to undergo that particular test or assessment, and there are a few candidates who take undue advantage and take the help from someone else to address that test or assessment, which is absolutely not done. So this is not fair and you cannot do that. That is my recommendation. Also, when it comes to certain assessments, certain candidates think that they can present a different version of their personality, which they are not. So please understand these psychometric assessments are scientific assessments. They have been created after a lot of thought. So in case you try to bluff, or in case you try to present something or some element of you which you are not, then sooner or later you will get exposed. Because in psychometric tests, the same question may be asked in different ways. And in case you bluff or are not true to yourself, then sooner or later the truth would be out. Also, in case you engage in any malpractice and in case you get selected, sooner or later your employer is going to know that somewhere you have taken some wrong approach to secure the job. So that rarely happens. However, it can happen at times. So don't get into something where you're not being true to yourself, resorting to dishonest means, because sooner or later you'd get caught. And that's going to have a greater negative impact on your career. The last point which you'll need to bear in perspective pertaining to the assessments and tests, especially in case you're not selected, is to seek feedback. So in case you're not selected, please reach out to your point of contact at the recruiter's end or the employer's end and try to understand what is it that you didn't do well. In case they are willing to share that inputs or feedback, it's going to be very good for you, especially for your very next test or assessment. So tests and assessments these days are an integral part of certain job roles. So you will need to understand its importance, and you can utilize the action points which I mentioned to address those tests and assessments in the best possible manner. In addition to all what I mentioned, you will have to address tests and assessments in a positive manner. Please do not get too stressed out. Be cool and composed, because being stressed and being nervous would also not work and it would go against you. So remain calm, give it your very best and try whatever you need to in the right manner to ensure that you clear the test and assessment and secure your next best job or career opportunity. Thank you very much for your time.